Ted Jones messed with the wrong melon farmers.
Ted Jones, I also call him the eighth wonder of the real estate world.
Ted Jones, who knows, it could be.
Ted Jones?
The Ted Jones World Podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 52 of the Ted Jones World Podcast. I am your host, Ted Jones. Ted Jones World 52 weeks in a year. So about around that year anniversary. Pat and I started this podcast on a whim a long time ago. There is no producer Pat here today. I am in the studio alone, but shout out Pat. We love you, bro. This week on the show, we have a very funny comedian. You may have seen this guy on your TV screen, Dave Merheje. Dave has a number of projects that he has worked on in the last couple of years. And joining us today from Dave, where are you, man?
I am in Los Angeles.
Joining
Silver
us
Lake,
from Los Angeles. And Dave, how are you, man? How's everything?
I'm all right, man. I'm out here in Silver Lake, dude.
Oh, Silver Lake, dude. Is that the Brooklyn of LA right now? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I guess. Like hipster wise, I guess, right?
Right. Like,
or is that even like
Williamsburg?
Yeah, is that even relevant? I guess anymore to say hipster? There has to be there has to be something newer than that. I feel.
No, I know. Like hipster, like I feel like, when you talk about hipster, that's the price. That's like the price point where it's like, oh yeah, like the hipsters are moving in so everybody can afford it. But like, I'm sure like that is definitely not the case in Silver Lake, and for sure not the case in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
So Dave, you are in Los Angeles right now, not always been in Los Angeles. You grew up in Canada and then moved to LA for comedy, but just give us like a quick bio of yourself, bro.
I grew up in a place called Windsor, Ontario, which is in Canada, but it's on the border of Detroit. So growing up, the border, I could get to downtown Detroit with my parents, 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Like
wow.
There's a tunnel on a bridge.
You'd still have to go through the whole border process.
Yeah,
how long does that take?
Before 9/11, I would say faster. So
right.
I don't mean to laugh, but we live by the tunnel. So you'd go under in the tunnel and it wouldn't take that long depending how busy the day was, like if there was a lineup. And then there's the bridge on the other side of town. So we were by the tunnel. But yeah, I grew up there and then I started my comedy there. And then I moved to Toronto and I was there for about 10 plus years. Until about 2015 and 16, I started to get my green card and moved to Los Angeles. Lived in LA for about a year or so, and then moved to New York for around 2017 till about this June.
Okay, and you're in LA, you believe, for good right now. Like you signed a lease on your place?
I signed a lease for a year, yeah. So a lease a year, so.
So how does LA look right now? I mean, compared to how and normally move around LA in terms of like the comedy scene and just everything.
Well, there's really no shows. A friend of mine, Paul Aaliyah and Matt Rife, they do a comedy show outside. That's like. There's other shows that are outside. I think there's like drive-in shows, but I mean, it's not like how it was before COVID, where it was like you were doing comedy on a regular basis. I was in New York when at the height of it, and it feels, it felt way different then.
At the height of what? Sorry.
COVID.
Okay.
Height of COVID, so it was like much more isolation. Here, with more space, it just feels a bit different in that aspect. Right. I don't know how to explain. It just feels. Like, I know it's there, it's there. Like, the numbers are going up, but it just doesn't feel like when I was in New York. It doesn't feel like it's on top of you almost. I don't know. It's like it's spread out. People are in their cars. You don't really see anybody that much. Like, you're not on the street.
Yeah, sorry. Well, you mentioned like things being spread out. You don't really see everyone as much. And LA, I mean, at least for when I visited, for the most part, it's kind of like you're at wherever you're staying and then you're driving to wherever you're going to. So, it seems like a little bit confusing and I don't want to say mind-boggling, but when you look at like in New York City, like for the most part, it's pretty dead here. There are definitely a few restaurants that are open and the restaurants are trying to do business outside, but struggling, obviously.
Yeah.
Why do you think that LA's cases have still been going up? Sorry, man, we just want to pick your brain because like we haven't had someone from LA on the podcast in a few months, and we just want to see if you guys are flattening the curve, man.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I think it's also too outside of LA, like maybe Orange County. There might be still people just wilding out and doing their thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I
Right.
see.
Well, Orange County's pretty red. You know, I feel
Yeah.
like they don't really mess with the mass as much in an Orange County.
No,
I don't want to generalize, but like
I don't want to
kinda
generalize either.
it's kind of like
But-
how it feels a little bit, or even just like looking on the news and scrolling through Instagram and whatever it is. But
You're correct.
I've spoken to like a few apartment brokers here, and they seem to think that for the rest of 2020, this is going to be the time where you can get the cheapest apartment since like 2008. Like it's been 12 or 13 years since they've seen studio and one bedroom rents at this low of a rate, and then everyone's really jumping on the outdoor space. So anything that really has any sort of outdoor space is just going to be getting a premium. And I would assume that in LA, the rents maybe are staying at like a solid level. I mean, have you spoken with like a bunch of your friends? What are they saying?
I think it's at a solid level. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I haven't talked to many people that said it's gone low out here. I've talked to more people in New York, and they said that the rent has dropped. So, I don't know 100%, but that's just from what I've collected from talking to people. It looks like New York's dropping in rent.
Yeah. Well, Dave, we need a vaccine. So let's get to the juicy stuff, bro. I definitely want to start off by talking about two massive moments in your career. About 18 months ago, you dropped your Netflix special, and I remember watching that. It was probably about January of 2019. It dropped.
Yeah.
So how do you think that doing your Netflix special really impacted your career over the past 18 months?
2018, I got the call. I think it was in June. I was still in New York. I was living in Ridgewood too, and I remember where was it? I remember being in this cafe down the street from where I was living, and then at the time it was like I didn't really know what I was doing. I knew I was doing comedy, but I moved to New York at an older. It was just hard to get stage time and get a placing in that city. So I was kind of like dealing with depression and just like frustrated from the whole thing. And I remember being in this cafe, my manager in Canada called me. He goes, "Hey man, they put your name in for this Netflix thing." And I had no idea. I was like, "Oh, that's wild that they're picking Canadians." Because before that, you don't see many Canadians that are still in Canada with specials. So like, I was like, "Oh, that's good for the country." Just for the country I was speaking. I was like, what a dope thing for the scene to have because we have so many talented people in Canada. So I kind of was like, whatever. And then I think maybe like that 2 weeks later, I got word. I was with another friend of mine from Canada, Alex Pavone, very funny comedian. He was actually, we were at this cafe or this restaurant. I go, "Hey man, I gotta go take a shit." And then I get down and my manager called me, and he was so geeked. He was like, "Dude, I think he said, dude, like," he goes, "It's happening. They gave it to you."
There
and
you
then
go.
I sat on there talking to him for 45 minutes, bro. Pavone must have been like, what happened to this guy? So when I get up to go up, Pavone's at the table, and you could tell he's livid. Like, where were you, bro? And right when I get to the table, I go, "I got Netflix," like that. And then he went from looked like frustration to hugging me, and we both cried. I remember we both cried. And then
I just got chills, and I know everyone listening and watching just got chills too. Keep going.
And there's another comedian, Christian, funny dude. He by chance was there because there was a comedy show downstairs. Pavone would think it was going on. He came in, and our eyes were watering, and he came over and he goes, bro, "Hey guys," and he went, "Oh, okay, sorry, man." And we're like,
so when did you go ahead?
I couldn't tell anyone. I think Pavone just knew, because they had to keep it a secret.
Yeah.
And then we filmed it July 28th in Montreal during the Just for Laughs festival. My little brother flew out from Windsor. One of my little brothers, Joe, and it was such a, to answer your question, like, at that point, dude, I was just happy that I was able to do that. I wasn't really thinking of what it could do after. I was hoping it would take to another like a crazy level or a big level. And then after it came out, you know what I mean, I was just getting messages from places I've never, like Brazil people from Chicago would message me like, I've seen it 5 times. My dad's seen it like a bunch of times. So just getting that feedback, even if it was on like, it wasn't on a wild, like if I wasn't doing arenas after, I was like, yo, this is dope. I got to put out this half-hour special. And people from different parts of the world have messaged me, not like crazy, but I mean, that's still nuts. I wouldn't imagine
Well, I mean,
that.
in places that you've definitely never been.
No, I never been to like Brazil or like Spain or even London, like getting messages from like London or the Middle East. It was just all so awesome. And there's like, so I think it also helps to, I don't want to like, helps you leverage, you know what I mean? It helps you like credit wise as a comic, like, oh, he did a Netflix special. So you can get more like maybe meetings or more in rooms you couldn't get into, or even just placings at comedy clubs. Like, yo, I did a special for Netflix. They'll be like, oh, more chances to at least have the beginning of a conversation, I feel.
Right. And also, especially if you're like a comic in LA and you're trying to get gigs in New York, I'm sure that's
for sure.
That's a beautiful thing to say.
The dopest part is that me and my sister grew up watching the show Blossom. And she had watched the special and tweeted at me and like send me.
Oh, no way, bro.
And that was the reason I say that is like not on some like, like a celebrity dug it. It was just that something that me and my sister would watch as kids. So when I told my sister, she was like, what? I was like
random circle back. That's great. So how long do you think you would have considered yourself to be doing comedy and grinding and really working towards this Netflix special before you got it? I know you said you were battling some issues, being in Brooklyn and not really having your footing maybe as like a like a full standing comedian, but how long do you think that you were grinding before that happened?
I was grinding, like in Canada, I was grinding, it took me about 10 years to get to a level in Canada where I could tour the country and make a living. Like that happened like after 10 years. I did most of the festivals in Canada. I was on TV in Canada, like a very like popular show there called Mr. D. I was MTV Live. So I had dipped my toes there. Do you know what I'm saying? And I was getting to a level there. But then I had to move. I moved because you have to get your credits to get your green card to show America that you're, they say, an extraordinary talent. So in America, though, I wasn't doing anything. So I think it was like plus 14 years, I would say, like maybe like 17 years before I got the Netflix special. But I found some success in Canada prior to that. But it still took me, even in Canada, 10 plus years, I would say. It took like a long time.
But before your Netflix special, how many times do you think you thought about quitting? Like where you were very serious about it? Because obviously in a stand-up comic's head, that's gotta come around pretty often.
Plus 40 times, maybe more. Shit, even after the Netflix thing, I thought about quitting. I've even thought about quitting like a month ago. Like it just doesn't leave you and shit. Yeah, I would say I can't even tell you the number. It's too much.
Right, but I mean, you power through, bro. And you're wearing are you wearing a J. Cole Dreamville shirt right now? Did I see that correctly?
I am.
Did I see that correctly? I could see that. I could see that through. I saw like the top of his letters, and he's still wearing a Dreamville shirt, bro. That is amazing. That Netflix special. I want to get it into your second biggest. Well, I don't know if I can kind of rank the two and saying your second biggest accomplishment, but it definitely happened after the Netflix special. Yeah, I believe. You are currently co-starring in Hulu hit series Ramy as Ahmed. You've been in every single episode. And why don't you speak a little bit about that, just being on like a major Netflix television show and being a recognizable face? Did I say Netflix? I said network.
Fine.
Hulu.
It's fine.
Go ahead.
Hulu, yeah, it's Hulu in America. And, I do want to say that I give you props for putting me in every episode. I'm not in every episode, but I mean, like,
you're in 17 episodes, no?
I think so. I think
you are, bro. You are. I did my research. You're in 17.
Shit, okay. I didn't check.
Go ahead, bro.
I didn't check. You know what I mean? Because
yeah. It all gets meshed together. I feel you.
Yeah, but imagine I was Googling how many episodes. Just the idea of me like alone in my room.
No,
Googling
I know. You're like you like wanted
Crazy.
to make sure you have everything cool and right for Ted Jones World Podcast, but we got you, bro. So speak on the experience.
I've known Ramy. I met Ramy in New York actually at the Arab Comedy Festival, like maybe 10 years ago or even more. He was like 19, I think, in a sketch troupe, and I was doing stand up, and we both talked. He remembers this convo about like I was like, oh, I want to act because I've always wanted to eventually act, and he was like, oh, I want to do stand up, and then we linked up in 2015 again. Like I was in LA, he lives here, and he was doing a show, putting on a show, stand-up show, and I would do the stand-up show, and we just kind of like got closer, like, you know, just hanging out more, talking more. I would stay at his crib, and I think he had mentioned to me, I ran into him at a restaurant, him and Ryan Welsh, one of the writers, that they had sold the show, I believe. And then I was like, wow, I was very excited. I was like, yo, that's so dope, man. I didn't know much about it. And then in New York, when I moved, I ran into him at the same festival, Arab Comedy Festival, was going on for a while, at the Stand, where the old location. And he was like, do you want to audition? And I was like, fuck yeah, bro. And I didn't really think I was going to get it, to be honest with you, because it's like auditioning, right? You never know. And then I was in China when he hit me up doing stand-up. So I had to get a self-tape. I was like, I have no one really to self-tape with. And he was like, just do a monologue. I'll give you the scene. And then I had one of the promoters in Beijing, I convinced her to self-tape me. I didn't even know what the show fully was about. And then she did the thing on the phone. And then after one take, she lowered it and she goes, no. She goes, do it again, which I thought was funny. And then I sent it, and 2 days later, I found out I got booked for the pilot. And then we filmed the pilot in Astoria in like, I think December of like, and then in
Story of
April,
Queens.
he hit me up, and then he was like, dude, it got picked up. And then that was season 1. And it was such a, I think I tell him all this stuff. So I was telling him like one of the when we filmed the house party scene, they picked you up in the van, and I was driving into like, I think Upper West Side. I was like wild. I was like, man, I started comedy in Windsor. I got a green card, and now I'm filming in New York, like a TV show. I was like, that's such a wild, like, thought that like I've always wanted to have. I've always wanted, but it's like you're just sitting in this van, and they're taking you to your trailer. It's such a grateful thing to be able to experience. The show, the crew, like I'm friends with Mo Amer, who plays Mo on the show. Steve I met during before we filmed the first season. May I'm good friends with now. She plays the sister. Just everyone on the show, from the mom, the dad, the uncle. It's just like so dope. Such a good chemistry. I feel everyone wants to be there. Everyone loves being there, and it feels like a family, bro.
Nice, man. So 2 seasons of Ramy have been on Hulu, and I saw that you guys are going to be picked up for a 3rd season. Our questions here on Ted Jones World: when is that going to begin filming? Do you have any idea? Because I know that, I mean, it got confirmed like what, a month ago, right?
A month ago, yeah. I would say, man, I don't know full details again, but I would say in next year for sure. Like I don't see it personally anytime soon. You know what I mean?
And are you guys gonna be filming in New York, LA, or you don't really know yet?
I don't know, but I might be both. I don't fully know. You know, I'm just assuming New York, because that's where we film. I want to film in New York, dude. I had fun in Staten Island, dude.
Dude, New York is the place to be, man. We're flattening the curve over here.
You do a great job, dude. I left. I left.
Yeah, bro. If you're listening every single week, I'm talking about flattening the curve and us wearing masks. So, big time Canadian Dave Merheje, when you won the Juno Comedy Album of the Year, how did you feel about that? I mean, was that something that was kind of just like a one-off kind of experience? Like, I mean, the venue was huge. There were a ton of people there, but to be honest, I haven't heard of that. Is that because I'm American? The Juno Comedy Album of the Year.
Well, Junos is our Grammys, right? So I heard of the Junos since I was a kid, because it's like, it's mostly music heavy. Comedy was a category that they hadn't done in multiple years, bro. They started doing it again in 2017. It took a long ass hiatus. So for it to come back it was super, super, super amazing. A lot of it was, I feel, from what I can remember, Ben Miner is a comedian from Canada who works at Sirius XM there, and he helped, I think, bring it back into the fold. So I always, we got to give him props for that. So yeah, I guess Americans wouldn't know, and it's understandable because it's like our Grammys, and the comedy categories is so new again that I wasn't even aware of it in a sense. I remember Ivan Decker won the first year it came back in 2017, and I was like, whoa, that's so dope. We had recorded a special video it's called Good Friend Bad Grammar, and then after, I think my manager and the producer Millen were like, I think they were like, you could submit this to the Junos. We'll make it an audio and we'll submit it to the Junos. We'll also put it out as an audio. I was like, yeah, man, that's cool. And then when I got nominated, I remember I flew in from Calgary. I landed, and when I opened my phone, it was like, oh, you got nominated. I was like, super thrilled. I was like, oh, dude, we worked so hard on this album and this video and this special, everyone a part of it, the art, from the artwork to everything. I really want this to be represented and shown from all the hard work we put in. So then when I got nominated, I was like, this is a super thrill. Winning was just even crazier in my head, because I was like, I as a competitor, I should have won as a competitor. Just if I'm going to be honest, I'm like,
you were the best person in that category.
I didn't even, to be honest, I didn't listen to other people's albums. I'm not going to sit here and say I did, but so I wouldn't know what the work was like, but I just felt so strong about our work that I was like, no, I think we're going to win. We should win. That was my thought, as a competitor, but how you never know. So when I got there and at the ceremonies, it wasn't until maybe 5 seconds before the announcement, I just kind of felt it I was like, I won. I just felt it. And I was like, and then, yeah, it was
that's God's touch, pal. So I just want to I want to jump back to Ramy really quick, the Hulu TV series, and just talk a little bit about what it was like working with, I guess, one of your really tight friends, Ramy, and him for the most part. I mean, having the show named after him, the show's really about him and the stereotypes that he goes through. How did you feel working on set, and are these stereotypes that you deal with every day?
His energy, man, it starts with him because his energy was so good that it just went through the whole set, bro. You know what I mean? I felt there was he's so dope in a sense that he'll be like, if you riffed, he'll be like, oh, I like that. You should do that again. Very supportive. He'll come talk to you. It's very gentle. You don't sense any, you sense somebody who's grounded.
So was he kind of the director for the most, or co-directing with the?
He directed multiple episodes, but most of my scenes were with him and Mo and Steve. Yeah. So and me and Mo are friends too. So it felt like all of us we are acting, but we would react the same way off camera. When they were cut, we would have our personalities was the same way. We would gel that way. So what you see on camera, kind of loosely, that's how we gel as well.
Right.
So Mo in real life.
Go ahead.
Oh, he'd just be like, "What the fuck are you saying, bro?" In real life.
Right. So it's just reading the script, but also doing a good amount of improv in terms of just how you guys are interacting.
We'll go by the script, but there's times where Ramy will be like, "Yo, just riff this," or and there's that freedom which you don't get a lot, I'm assuming, or it's just so I feel I have so much fun, bro. To be honest with you, it's not even about getting a job or money. I legitimately have a great time, and at the end of the day, sometimes I'm like, I don't even want to go home. I'll just be hanging out. That's so great. I just love the whole crew. The whole crew's great. Production, everybody wants to be there. That's the vibe you get, and it's just such a pleasant time both season. And I've remained in contact with everyone, most of the people, and we kick it, and we'll, it's such a dope thing. Me and the sisters' relationship developed stronger, and cool. Everyone's so super talented,
what's interesting, watching these shows now on these networks and Amazon and a Netflix, a Hulu, it just seems that the acting for the most part is a lot looser. It's definitely not a movie. You don't need to go over the script 400 times and have the shot perfect Scorsese or have it perfectly panned out. it just seems like these shows that are coming out more and more are a lot looser, and it's nicer to watch. And you could definitely tell that there's not like pent up like Nicolas Cage, smoking heaters outside of his trailer, and then running to set for like Face Off with John Travolta or whatever it is. It just seems like TV and things are slowly, getting a little bit looser, a little bit more liberal. But hey, it's 2020, so hopefully we're moving in that direction. So, Dave, I know you are Lebanese, and we definitely need to talk about the explosion. I believe it was about 2 weeks ago now in Lebanon. So, how has this affected at all your family and friends? And basically, this blowout in Lebanon was the size of Manhattan. So, windows were broken like 10 miles from the actual explosion site itself. And I don't even think anyone living in Manhattan can really even fathom something like that, or people living in Brooklyn, or people living in a Silver Lake. So kind of just talk about how, when you heard that, I'm sure your reaction was pretty unique.
Yeah, well, most of my family, like my parents, my mom got to Canada when she was a kid, and my dad, like same thing, a little bit older. So like most of my relatives and family members and cousins have left Lebanon. Like I don't I don't know. I might have like a aunt there. I don't know. Like over time, everyone moved outside of Lebanon. But I have friends there. I have friends that have family still there, and it was quite tragic. And I have a very close friend of mine. Her family and her friends, they're going through it there, and she's going through it too. So I've talked to her almost every day. You know what I'm saying?
What has been kind of like the government reaction? I know that the people there are two gentlemen that are in charge of I'm not 100% sure on the political situation over there, but I know that there are two gentlemen that are supposed to be, or everyone wants them to step down.
I think they did step down. I don't take my word on that. I saw something where they stepped down. I think people, also they're dealing with COVID as well, right? Do you know what I'm saying? So it's you have that, and it's like rebuilding now. It's just sad. It's just so sad and tragic, man. I try to donate as much as I could, and I try to share as much as I could on social media to get other people to donate and to bring awareness to it. But which I think we shouldn't stop. We should keep bringing awareness to it.
Absolutely. And in a scary situation like that, when you're roaming the streets and you see buildings just torn down, it's really important, I think, to get the money in the right hands. And hopefully that's happening over there, because I definitely have seen a lot of relief funds for Lebanon, and just in general, just making sure that these funds go to the right place, because just such a tragic situation over there. But
yeah, it's so tragic.
I mean, it's going to be tough to rebound from there. So do you know what they are doing with the people who were super affected by the blast, where they're putting them?
I don't know. I got to talk to my friend more. I think, I would have to ask her. I should probably do a better job of being more informed and stuff. Again, I've been talking to her every day, so it's like sucks seeing.
That's also the last thing she wants to talk about too.
Yeah. She's trying to make sense of it as well too, right? Because her close family, like I think her mom and dad are there, like her family's all there. Wow. She moved to America to do comedy and stuff like that, and to chase her dream and stuff like that. So it's got to be like so difficult, and it is. I know from talking to her and stuff.
Wait, yeah, crazy. Well, God bless everyone over there in Lebanon. They for sure need it. So I wanted to get your opinion on a rapper, considering you are from Canada. And then I also want to talk a little bit about Toronto Raptor basketball. But let's start off with this guy, Tory Lanez. What is going on with Tory Lanez? Why hasn't he spoken up yet? Apparently, Tory Lanez, this rapper from Canada, shot Meg Thee Stallion, who's a rapper. And this happened like 3 weeks ago, and we haven't heard anything from Tory Lanez. So I really want to know what is going on with this guy, Tory Lanez. It seems that he got so big that he lived long enough to see himself turn into a villain. This guy had a record amount of views on his Instagram live, and at the point where the head of Instagram was even co-signing him and saying that he was good for the brand. And now this? Like, why isn't anyone speaking up? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I was a big fan of, well, his music. That's how I came about to find him. I think I forgot what part of area of Toronto he's from. And his mixtapes, The New Toronto, I was a fan of those, a fan of his albums, musically, rap wise.
Dave, like you, he seemed like another guy who was just grinding and grinding. I remember hearing from him like 4 or 5 years ago saying that this next mixtape that he's going to put out is the best mixtape that anyone's ever heard. Just believing it before he even came to the fruition within the last year.
He very confident from what you see and what he tells you. And New Toronto 3 came out. He was just dope, dude. I just thought he was I thought lyrically he was so dope. I thought, he would sing. It was just the production. Broken a Minute was one of my favorites. Is one of my favorite songs. And then I heard this news and I was just like, fuck, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know the details, but it's just from what it looks like and sounds like, it's so awful. Like just to bring violence to anyone. So it's just like it's just sad. You know what I mean? Well,
did he get his green card revoked? He got sent back to Canada?
I don't know. I heard he might have been, sent back to Canada, but it's just like, you probably do have to say something, but again, I don't know the full story. I don't know his side. Like, in a sense, I don't know what he's going through. It's wrong. I think violence just in general, obviously we both know it's wrong. Yeah. Guns, and I'm not, that's awful. It's just a situation where you're like, just what the fuck happened? Why do that? Why was that even a thing that happened?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like such an issue. I go back to the phrase or word. I don't know if this is a phrase or word, mind-boggling. I think it's a phrase. Yeah, it's mind-boggling. But just for somebody to shoot somebody else when you're at the top of your career over something that obviously is not that big of an issue because you're not speaking up about it is just wild to me.
Yeah, and I'm glad, obviously it's great. I'm so glad that she's safe, right? Like, do you know what I mean? It could have been worse. So, again, I don't, it's just.
Man. Well, the only reason I wanted to get your opinion on it is because he's from Canada, but that guy has got to figure it out. So, dude, the Toronto Raptors, do you have any thoughts on them?
No, in a sense that I grew up, watching and being a fan of the Detroit Pistons. But I don't really follow sports as much as I used to. So I kind of fell off in that thing. I have a lot of friends that love the Raptors, and I'm going to say this on here. Last year when they won the championship, I wasn't a fan. I was rooting against them. I'm going to say that. I was very bad.
What?
Yeah, I was rooting against them, and I caused a lot of fights with my friends. I was disrespectful to my country. So I would like to, and I've apologized to Alex Pavone about it, but I would like to apologize fully on here that I'm very sorry to my country and the Toronto Raptors.
There you go. There you're hearing it from the Canada man's mouth. He is sorry.
They did. What an exceptional run. What an exceptional victory. What a great thing for the country. Absolutely. It was such a beautiful moment. I do regret not enjoying it and being a part of it. My own negativity and hatred and wrongful doing affected that, but they, and now to watch what they're doing this year is, I root for them this year. I can't because I got what I did last year, but I'm telling you now, it's like I'm not a big basketball. I don't know everything about it or follow it as regularly as real sports fans, but what they're doing is amazing, and I support them and I root for them.
Well, bro, I hope you have a chance this year to celebrate them. So this just came out, I think, a couple hours ago in the news. The Toronto Raptors actually might not play. They might forfeit the rest of the playoffs to sit out and protest the unarmed shooting of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin. I'm not sure if you had seen this.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so 3 police officers followed a man into his car like while he was entering his car and shot him in the back like 7 times. And now this guy's listed in stable condition, but he
why did they shoot him?
From the waist down. Excuse me?
Why did they shoot him? Sorry, I didn't mean to
he was an unarmed black man. I don't know what exactly they shot him for. I'm sure that there was a story before they shot him, but he was unarmed and there were 3 officers trying to trying to contain him. Or if you just watch this video, and if anyone has not watched this video, Jacob Blake from Wisconsin, this guy got shot, no joke, 7 times and is left paralyzed by 3 cops in Wisconsin.
These fucking 7. Why 7? Why?
I don't know, man. It's honestly a crazy video, and the racism in this country has got to stop. And just in general, man. You talked about 9/11 on the top of the episode. Do you feel like at any time back in the day, like you were experiencing prejudice like that?
Not to that level by any means, but it's just
Right.
like, I don't know, man. Look, there's racism in Canada for sure. 100%. I've experienced it. I have friends that experienced it. But there's just this level of like fucking ignorance and just this another fucked up level that America does. And I'm sorry. It's just as a country, it's just like awful, bro. I know I live here, but it's just awful. It's disrespectful. It's ignorant. It's just like, and then they're always like, gotta try to justify it. No, this is just wrong, bro. Lock them motherfuckers up, those cops. Take your badge away. You go do jail time. I don't. And then you're like, well, I don't need to know the fucking full story. Three guys with 3 guns. You need to shoot someone
right.
7 times in the fucking back. No, man. It's just fuck you. It's too frustrating. It's almost like it's just too much. It's just too much, bro. It's not even like not even debatable. I don't want to. No one should talk about it. There should just be like, these guys go to jail. That's it. No discussion.
Well, now, and and also speaking from like 2 white guys, and we're saying it's just unthinkable that this could even happen. And now, how many months are going to go by? Now they have to investigate, and then they have to decide if these officers were potentially in the wrong, or if they thought he had a gun, or whatever the situation may be. It just like seems like it's an ongoing circle of unfair action from the police. So, Dave, before we wrap up this episode 52 of the Ted Jones World Podcast, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watching here on YouTube, rate, comment, and subscribe. And look at Dave's beautiful face, man. I know you've probably seen his face on Hulu, but this guy looks great here on the Ted Jones World Podcast. So, Dave, is there anything you want to talk about, man, before we wrap this episode up? Tell us something interesting.
Well, I'll tell you though, the beautiful face, dude, is like I've started to put cream on my face for the last 2-3 years.
Really? And on your head too, or just the beard?
No, just the face, and I have a thing for beard as well. So it's 2 separate. It helps, dude. A 40-year-old man.
Dude, you know what? I also want to compliment you. I don't think I've ever seen you with like a little too much stubble on the head. How often are you shaving that bald head?
Shave every other day, bro.
Every other
day. Except during quarantine, I was like, I didn't leave the place for 6 to 8 weeks. So I was just let it grow for like 3 days. But even then, after the 4th day, I'm like, nah, nobody's seeing this. I mean, except my roommate at the time. I was like, but I'm like gonna shave it, but it looks creepy, bro, to me. I don't like it when it grows only here and then lesser here. I don't like
it looks great on camera. So what are your moves gonna be for the next month, man? What are you doing in September? What are you doing for Labor Day? How are you gonna start figuring out going back to normal in LA?
Well, I'm gonna probably go visit my family in Canada, probably in like November till like the new year. I'm gonna try to get my California driver's license. I've been studying the written test. That's like big, I feel.
Definitely.
And also just writing, not specifically stand-up, but just writing other things. And yeah, man. I think trying to keep busy that way, creatively.
Totally. I mean, it's definitely important to stay busy, especially when we're all locked up in our not so big apartments, for sure. Dave Merheje, episode 52, Ted Jones World Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Dave, you're the man, dude. I will talk to you soon.
Yes, bro. Peace out, bro.